Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I am Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. I got you up close and personal today so you can see every pore and every line on my face. Can you guess what we're talking about? We're talking about Seint color matching, how it's different than traditional color matching with a traditional foundation. Whether you've worn Seint for years and you aren't sure if you're wearing the best colors or you are brand new to Seint, I'm gonna tell you my thoughts after wearing and color matching for 8 years. Things that I truly think make these creams very unique, what makes our line unique, and what you need to know. What I wish I would have known all those years ago. It would have saved me a lot of trial and error. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Okay, friends, let's talk a little bit about color matching. Now, if you were in person and could physically swatch, per se, all of Seint's highlight shades, which make up our foundation, then usually you would do something like this. I get pictures sent to me sometimes like this, and I want to kind of explain why this is so different than a traditional foundation match. So let's say you want to go to Sephora, you want to pick out a liquid foundation, skin tint, tinted moisturizer, whatever the case may be, it's a liquid product. You can, usually they'll say, look at your wrist, look at your veins, determine your undertones, your general skin tone depth. Are you light, medium, fair, dark, deep? Look at external factors. Do you have redness? Do you have scarring, sun exposure, dark spots? All of those things as well. Then typically within that skin tone range, you would swatch, I'd say, 3 colors, what you think would be the closest at your undertone, if you guessed that right. So whether you are cool, warm, neutral, or olive. I truly believe there are 4 different undertones, and from my experience, from a lot of color matches through the years, a lot of people don't know their undertone, or they think they know and they aren't accurate. Okay, so the best way is to, maybe you can grab the one within your range. So for me, I usually go for medium. You can grab a medium at 3 different undertones, swatch them on your cheek, and then you typically blend down and see what color will blend in with the neck. That is traditional foundation world. Let it dry down, you make sure you can see it in natural light, and you see what has your best match. Now, knowing every brand is very different, some brands' neutrals are not very neutral, that you all take with a grain of salt. But for the most part, you can look and pick one to match as close as possible at your skin tone's undertone, and you're good to go. You never want to look at the color in the bottle, because a lot of times it will look oxidized in the bottle. It won't be an accurate description. Like these two, like to me, this looks darker, but in fact, this is the darker shade. This one is just warmer. Can you tell the difference? So it can be really deceiving, much like when I explain to clients how deceiving Seint's tones look. One, you look at the picture on the website versus the picture in the 10 in person versus swatched on the face, though all 3 look vastly different. You might be able to tell which colors I have swatched on my face, because in the 10, they are super pigmented and very at full opacity, right? There's no sheerness to them. They're straight pigment in the 10. And when you swatch them on your face, you're also getting full opacity. You cannot see my skin through any of these swatches. But are you ever gonna apply it like this to the face? If you are, I promise you there's a better way. You don't need that much product. And because such a little 10 has so much pigment and lasts so long, they will look completely different when sheared out on the skin. Another thing that's different is that foundation liquid, namely, they are made of liquids that will then are designed to evaporate and then set that pigment onto your skin. So you can wear, if these were all liquid, you can pick whatever you want to look like. Say you want this more cool toned. Maybe your neck is very cool and your face isn't. You can throw a liquid all over the face. It's going to evaporate and that pigment is going to set. Because of that, it doesn't matter the general tone. It's more of like, what do you want to match? In Seint World, our creams don't set. There's no evaporation. What you see on the skin, this is what you're gonna get. So that being said, that color is gonna determine how well it wears on you, which is why it's so important you get a proper match. They aren't gonna all wear the same. All of these colors would wear completely different on my skin as far as longevity, breaking up, showing texture, all of those things that you might not see in a typical liquid foundation. So that takes me to the newest feature within the Seint website is that there is a color match quiz that you can take and match yourself. Now, I will be honest, 8 years ago when I tried the makeup for the first time, if there would have been a color match quiz, I would have taken it. Now, as an artist, I can see where it is helpful for these new artist affiliates, since it is no longer not a direct sales business anymore. Anyone can sign up as an affiliate if you want to share the product, if you want to share your love for it, but there's no training when it comes to color matching these. And color matching is not easy. It is difficult. It took me years to figure it out for myself. I understand the quiz is meant to be fast, easy, those that don't want to go through the process of finding an artist. But a few things about the quiz that you should be aware of is that it's all based on self-assessment. How well can you determine the own colors in your face? I can say personally, I would have failed at that. 8 years ago, I color matched myself. Granted, half of these colors were not available, but based on Pinterest, it told me this one. So that's what I ordered. Needless to say, that's probably one of the very few colors in our line I cannot wear in any way, shape, or form. It also is going to match you to one color for all over for your entire face. 2, if you're wanting to brighten. And if you guys have watched my videos, you know that that does not work for me, and I'll explain why. Another thing is that it does not ask you your undertones. It's basically asking you to be able to identify with one of the pictures it shows you. And those are technically, you're looking at their undertones, even though that might not be what you're assessing. So the self-assessment part is really hard. I took the quiz for myself, and 4 different times I got 4 different color match responses. And it is so very minute, the differences. And one of the reasons why is because it doesn't ask you your undertones. It doesn't ask you what kind of coverage you want. In terms of matching you to a shade, when it asks you that question, it's determining which brush to recommend. So that part is helpful. But my biggest thing is it doesn't ask you your concerns. So external factors, redness, sun damage, blemishes, all of those things highly depends on what kind of coverage you're gonna get. And it doesn't ask your preference, whether you have mature skin, have any large areas of contrast in different colors of your face. And all of the models it shows you have beautiful skin. There are also no pictures of mature faces. And these colors, I can attest, go on very differently on mature skin than they do on a 20-year-old. 20-year-olds don't have any depth to their face. They don't have dark spots. We get more and more as we get older. Our skin tone isn't perfectly even. And if it is, that's amazing. You won't have issues. You'll probably be fine using the quiz. Go for it. But for somebody like me, it took me years of figuring out how this makeup truly works to know that I can get way better results doing things a little bit differently. And so it all comes down to this: preference. What is your preference? So when I'm asking people on their color match questionnaire before I match them, what kind of coverage you're wanting, that is highly dependent on how I'm going to color match you. If you have any concerns you want extra coverage on, one color is not going to necessarily work for everyone if you have areas of your face that are darker, which is why I'm gonna show you up close and personal. So it all comes down to preference. I will say, if you have skin like mine and you have some things that you might need coverage on, that you have a little bit more contrast between the darkest part of your face and the lightest part of your face, and you want a no makeup look or very natural, letting your skin show, you most likely are not going to be able to get that result with one color alone. In my opinion, you will have to apply more makeup in order to get coverage. So going back to typical foundation, really good foundation lines have multiple undertones, every undertone at every depth, right? Otherwise they get blasted on the internet for having not a good shade range. Ours is very different than that. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys why I color match so differently, is because I cannot color match every skin tone to every undertone. We don't have that within our line. We have a few that have multiple at one depth, and everything else are different depths. Meaning some of our highlights, we don't have anything else at that undertone, at that depth. You can tell this one sticks out like a sore thumb. So let me show you here the difference in undertones of our makeup. Can you see? Pink. We only have 2 cool toned shades within the entire highlight line. This is why when somebody comes to me and they have cool undertones and they're saying they're struggling finding one shade, that's because unless you are at this depth, which most people are not, you will never be able to use one color and get the perfect match. Now, that does not mean that you cannot wear this makeup, but it's the combination of tones and shades that give you the perfect match, the perfect coverage to whatever your preference might be. And that is all determined by your color match. So for cool tone ladies, usually you are using this depth to balance and add in those cool tones, which I'll get to. Here we have olive. Can you see? We have one olive tone shade. Okay, so this was Palace, just for reference. This is June. June is the only green undertone, and I believe olive is undertone. There aren't a lot of lines that have a lot of olive undertone shades, but it is really hard for olive undertone skin to find the perfect match. We do have one. So if you happen to be at that, you might be obsessed with this shade. If you happen to be at that tone and have olive skin tone, then you're golden because you've got it and you won't need anything else. But for most people, I see a lot of artists giving this shade to color correct. It has slight green, but that doesn't mean it's the best option for that. There is things that color match way better if you have redness. Next is a neutral. Our neutral shades are our best selling shades. Now, is that because most people on earth are neutral? Possibly. I like them because I can use a color corrector and then I can make sure everything stays neutralized with a neutral tone. Otherwise, people get pulled too warm and they feel orange, oompa loompa. Too yellow and too orange are what I hear the biggest complaints. And that's because for a really long time, our entire line was all yellow based. Every shade was yellow. Here are 2 pink tones. You can tell they're way lighter. They're brightener shades, in my opinion. We have some yellow, really yellow tones. Everything else, it gets warmer as it gets darker. Obviously, the more melanated you are, the more warmth you have in your skin. And then we have a few neutral tones. And then these lighter ones are mostly for brightening. They give very little coverage due to the amount of white pigment in them. They just do not give the same level of coverage as those darker pigments do. So if you have any area of your face that's darker, you're not going to be able to wear the lightest color as a main shade ever. Just trust me on this. So last but not least, mango. Now you probably would look at that and be like, that is so orange on you, Sarah. Yes, yeah, but that is one of my colors. And so full opacity, very deceiving. You're never gonna wear these colors this opaque on your face. Please don't apply them that heavily. You will hate it. You will be like, oh my gosh, they feel so tacky and sticky and it's transferring everywhere. If you're getting transfer, you're applying too much or you're wearing a shade too light because it's not covering what you need it to. So over here, we're going into colors that I can actually wear. Obviously, this is too light, but this is my brightener shade. Next, this is the shade I wore for years. So we have Aura and Amber, which is what the color match quiz matched me at. I used to wear that color for the longest time. I thought it looked great until I discovered color correction. So I'll get to that in a second. And then we have Sandy, which is what I wear now. You can tell it looks a little bit too neutral for me, at least against this redness, but probably a pretty good match for my neck. And then we have Hazel, which is, you can tell, not a huge difference, a little bit darker, a little bit warmer, but we have, in terms of the colors I can wear in different combinations, it goes Sandy, and then one darker is Hazel, one darker is Mango. So you go neutral, almost a mix of the two, and then warm. And so here is the issue. We don't have an undertone at every depth. This one and this one, same depth. This one's neutral, this one's warm. We also have one more at that depth, which is very yellow. So we don't have anything cool. So when I hear artists saying, oh, just shade up one, if you are wearing Hazel and you shade up to Mango, but you aren't this warm, you might feel like it is orange on you. Because the line doesn't have an undertone at every depth, shading up one is not always an option. That is why when I color match people, I explain you need multiple shades to get the perfect match. Then you can easily adjust your application as you get lighter or darker. It's very simple. In my opinion, it's more simple than buying a new shade every time your skin tone changes. My skin tone's always changing because I'm a self-tanner. I wear sunscreen. When I don't have self-tan on, I could be all the way down to here, but when I do, I can be up to these. Perfect match, in my opinion, is something that can be adjusted easily as you get lighter or darker with the changing seasons, because guess what? Your skin changes every single day. Also, it's gonna allow you to change the way you're wearing your makeup. The reason why I love this makeup so much is it's not a liquid foundation that you throw on and it's the same every time. Your finish is the same, your coverage is the same. You can adjust the coverage you're getting from this foundation basically on how you're applying it, the brush, the motion of the brush, how much you're picking up. So because they can give anything from sheer to full coverage, the more sheer you're wearing your makeup, obviously the more forgiving it is. You're not gonna be wearing as much pigment. The wrong shade won't be as visible, won't be as noticeable as when you're trying to build up to more coverage and you need a medium to full coverage day and your shade is off, you're gonna see it. The shade will matter. And that's when you get into, okay, I'm applying too much. I touch my face. I'm getting transferred to my clothes, my hands, my phone. It feels tacky and sticky, or you're wearing a shade too light and seeing every pore on your face. The texture starts breaking up. The nose is notorious for this because I can't tell you how many people show me a front profile picture on their color match, but then they're saying they're having issues with longevity. They show me a side picture and how much darker the side of their nose is, where the rest of their face is a good 5 to 6 shades lighter. No wonder that shade will never last on your nose. It will break up. It will have no longevity, and it's gonna give no coverage, almost look streaky, cracking, the whole thing. I'm gonna take these off and I'm gonna show you how, no matter what your undertone is, you can get the perfect match, the perfect coverage, using the least amount of product. All day wear with even a no makeup, show your skin through type of look, or build it up to full coverage. Either way. First things first, I'm gonna go prep my perfector and wash it because this baby is key to Seint IIID foundation. If you're not using this, that's gonna be your first issue. I'm gonna go prep this so that while I do my makeup, it's drying down and it will be perfect by the time I'm ready for it. Okay, let's talk about what I did. On this side, I went ahead and went in with Amber Aura, my original colors. Not bad, not saying it's bad, but I do have issues with longevity and with breaking up, especially part around this area that you can tell is darker. And of course, hopefully you can tell the difference in coverage. It's a lighter shade. The lighter you go, the more issues you're gonna have with coverage. If you're not using a color dark enough for the darkest point of your face, it will wear off, increase the look of texture, not give enough coverage on that area. And this is a warm undertone shade because I am warmish. And if you have dark spots or freckles like me, and you're having areas pull gray, that is a key indicator that you're wearing a shade too neutral to cool. So usually if you have freckles, for example, you can't wear too neutral of a tone or your full freckles will get pulled gray. And so if you're feeling like things like tones are off, things are getting pulled weird, a lot of times it is as simple as adding a corrector, something that matches that darkest point. That way it adds that warmth that you need, and then you can neutralize it to make sure you overall stay matching. This is commonly what I see when people have naturally lighter necks, but say they have areas of redness like me. You can tell, I don't know if you can tell, like my redness is already peeking through, like this is not all blush. My dark spots under my eyes, just all of those little points aren't getting blurred as well as this side, which is just one shade up in color corrector and using an additional main shade to neutralize that color corrector so that I'm not getting pulled too dark or too warm. So instead of going with Hazel, which is right in between Sandy and Mango, for me personally, I get better coverage with less product using one shade up and one shade down. Magic Mango, which is an amazing color corrector for so many different skin tones, and Sandy, which is lighter but neutral to keep me matching. And so the difference is understanding the depths and colors. I personally have a lot of concerns, so my preference is I want coverage on those areas, but I don't want anything heavy. So instead of me going lighter and just being able to wear one color all over, where I'd have to apply more of it. And the only way I can get it to stay on my face is setting my entire face, which I like the glowy look. Then I'm gonna go with option B, which is a color corrector to color correct what I don't want obvious. Better coverage with less product. Then I'm gonna go with a main shade to then make sure I'm going to match. Whereas a lot of artists will just match you to your neck. So anything on your face that is darker or a different tone or has any contrast from what's on your neck, that's gonna show up, and those areas might wear off quicker. You're not gonna get as much coverage there. Whereas simple tweak as add a color corrector, make sure you're still gonna match, because that corrector underneath your main shade will alter it, obviously. You're putting a darker shade under it, so it is gonna alter your main shade. So this is where having an artist with a lot of experience color matching, a lot of concerns. That is my forte. That is the type of clients I color match the most, are people like me. They want to look like they have flawless, beautiful, even toned skin, even though that is the farthest thing from, and they want to use as least product as possible. I am not a full coverage girly. I am not a matte, heavy makeup wearer. I want natural, glowing skin, but with coverage. And then I use that third shade to brighten where I want. And I'll be honest, the older I get, the less of that shade I use. But some skin tones really need it in order to bring in their undertones. And so that's where that undertone comes in. Your color corrector most likely will not be your undertone. In some cases it can be. Your main shade might not even be your undertone, because it's going to probably have to neutralize and match your neck. And so then if you have very different undertones than your general skin tone depth, you might be pulling in, say, a cool shade in order to really bring in the lightest tones in your face or neck to kind of keep matching. So some people will have to press on that lighter shade along their jawline, the center of the face, just to stay cohesive. I call it balanced. We're balancing your overall look with the combination of shades. We're not just throwing one shade all over the face and thinking that is going to take care of everything, because it won't. In 90% of cases, if you want the best possible outcome from your makeup, you're gonna need multiple shades, because our faces are not one color all over. So I did the traditional method on this side where I finger painted. It's not my favorite. It is not what I recommend if you have any concerns whatsoever, unless you just have under eyes and that's the only part of your face you want extra coverage on. Otherwise, I'd say invest in brushes designed for creams. It makes it so much easier. Your fingers stay clean. All you have to do is tap on. You'll notice I pressed on my main shade to not move my color corrector. And again, that's already gonna give me way better coverage than the smear method and trying to blend it out, moving all that product. You have no control over certain areas of your face where you want more coverage. Whereas I can then go back in with a pinpoint brush and then build up or put on a darker point on where I need more coverage. And so you won't necessarily need a corrector all over. You might only need it in a couple of areas. And so that will give you control over your look, your preference for that day. Because let's be honest, sometimes my mood changes. Sometimes I want a medium coverage. Sometimes I'm having a very hormonal week and my face is showing it and I need more medium to full coverage. This way, all I have to do is switch up my brush and apply a little bit heavier on the color corrector or heavier on the main shade. And as I get lighter, I can use less of my color corrector. And as I get darker, I can use more. And it is very easy to tweak your shade every single day. It just takes a little practice on learning how to pick it up on the brush, because let's be honest, there is no other makeup that is this highly pigmented that this itty bitty 10 will last 6 months. It is pigmented. A little goes a long way. It's sometimes hard to show how very little. I probably have more cream on this side using finger painting method than I do on this side using multiple highlights to give me better coverage with less product. It blew my mind when I first discovered what a difference in my overall look I could get by using color correction and not sticking to, oh, you don't have to layer this makeup. Let me tell you, every makeup on earth, you build in thin layers for the best longevity and the best coverage. It doesn't matter what the marketing is. I get less of a makeup look from layering than I do one layer on this side of my face. Because in order to get the coverage I want on this side, I would have to use even more product. If you don't have perfectly even skin, this method might not be for you. So just keep an open mind. Like I always say, experiment, try some different shades. Trust me, it is worth learning color correction and getting the most perfect colors for your face, no matter how long you've been wearing this makeup. I hope you could tell the difference. Trust me, in a couple hours, this is not gonna be pretty. If you're having issues, like in certain areas of your face, trust me, get a color match. It might be a very simple tweak or just adding one little step to your makeup routine. My favorite messages are, oh my gosh, the difference a color corrector can make in the way my makeup looks, longevity I get, all of it. I get at least one a day. I can tell you, it truly can be a game changer if you're willing to try. As always, I will link my color match questionnaire. I ask you all of the questions I talked about because I do believe the perfect match cannot be accomplished from a quiz. You need an expert trained in this makeup to look at your face and ask you the right questions, your preferences, how you like to wear your makeup, what your concerns are, because trust me, it matters with this makeup. I ask all that on my little questionnaire. I'm sorry, it's long. I'm a little detail oriented. And so you'll notice even my color match response will be very detailed so that you can use it when you're trying your makeup for the first time, when you're needing to change your colors, how to apply if you're gonna get lighter or darker. I wanna make it easier for you. You can use it as a guide. So I'd be happy to help you out. It'll be pinned in the pinned comment as well as the description box under the video. I'm happy to help. If you have any further questions, just drop them in the comments. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Love you.